Okay, so in this video, you've drawn your still life, and so now we're going to do our underpainting for our still life again. So you've already done it with your landscape painting, so hopefully you're more familiar with it now. But now we're going to use what two colors? We're going to use burnt sienna and white for our underpainting. And remember, we're going to use those two colors to get the dark, the medium, and the light values of our objects. And so again, I have several brushes that I'm going to use. I don't want to use just one brush because that just takes time because you're cleaning and redrawing it. And then I have my paper plate that I like to mix my colors on. I have my cup of water to clean my brushes off. And I also have a paper towel if I need to dry my brushes off. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, and I like to always start with the darker values first. So that'll be like usually the pure burnt sienna. And remember, sometimes you have to let the acrylic paint dry a little bit and then layer it again to get it a little bit darker. You gotta be patient. And again, hopefully you're not adding gobs and gobs of paint. Okay, these are just thin layers. Yes, we need it dark enough, but we don't need it to be like too much. So now I'm going to move up to this coffee cup up here, this little red one. So my light source, remember, is coming from the top right. Okay, so see on my coffee cup, it's going light to dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that dark value first, that burnt sienna, and then I'm going to come in with some white mixed with the burnt sienna to kind of get that middle tone. And then also see how I'm painting with the form or the shape of my coffee cup. I'm not painting vertically, okay? I'm going like with the curve of my coffee cup. That's really, really important because you want to reinforce that form of your object. So maybe I put a little bit more white. Am I going to worry right now that it's blended like super perfectly? No, I'm not. I'm just kind of laying in these two values right now. I'm not worried about all these details and getting it to be all soft and perfect. I do not like this other brush that I'm using, but that's what I got right now. So it's darker on the inside of the mug here on the right because there's no light hitting it. And then on the inside it gets lighter there on the left. So I'm looking at the shapes of this light and dark when I'm putting it down in my cup. So that dried a little bit, so then I felt like I needed to go back over it to get a little bit darker. My shadows have dried now, so now I'm going to come back and put just like another little layer. Because then remember, later on when we start coming in with color, that burnt sienna underneath is going to help darken those colors, darken those values. And so now I'm going to start painting in this ornament here. So I'm kind of starting with that burnt sienna, and see how I'm moving my brush across the ornament. I'm not going straight up and down. I'm not going straight left and right. I'm trying to get it to go with the curve of this ornament. And now I need to bring in like a softer value really quick. So I mix a little bit of white. See how I came back with the burnt sienna to kind of bring it in and kind of soften, so it wasn't like such a drastic change. And hopefully wherever you paint, you have good lighting and there's not like a crazy reflection on your canvas like what I'm dealing with right now, but that's okay. So it's definitely going to be a little bit more lighter up here at the top of my ornament because that's where my light is hitting it. So I'm going to try to get a little bit more white happening. There's this nice little glare or little highlight. I'm not going to worry about that now. I'll go ahead and put it in, but it will get a lot brighter later on. I'm not going to like worry about trying to get that like perfectly white right now. I just kind of have it there to like as a placement so that I don't forget about it. And now that's kind of dried off a little bit, so now I'm going to add a little bit more burnt sienna down here to get those layers, picking that up. The burnt sienna is kind of transparent, so it's not like laying on as dark as I would want it. And so again, I'm not worrying about getting these values to blend super perfect right now. That'll happen when we do the colors. Right now I'm just kind of placing these values. And remember, your underpainting, you know, it's not something that should take you days to do. It should be like a one-day thing. You're just trying to figure out the darks and lights of your colors. All right, I'm going to leave that alone for a little bit. Let's move on to the green coffee cup. It's really dark right here because there's no light. So again, look at how I'm moving my paintbrush. So, you know, remember, I like to have a brush that has like my lighter values on it, and I like to have a brush that has my darker values on it. Remember, you don't want to use just one brush because that just takes a lot more time if you're cleaning, drying the brush. But here, I have a couple of brushes that are doing all the work. Yeah, I kind of like soften that just to kind of get it to blend just a tiny bit. There's a little foot on the bottom of this coffee mug. So inside the picture, it's really dark right here, but then there's like this lighter blue value here that's going to be a little bit lighter. So I am going to let that dry, and then I'll come back to kind of darken that. I'm looking at how the shadow is laying on my picture. Looking at the shape of it. So yeah, this picture, the right side is pretty white. So I've been seeing how I'm moving my paintbrush to go with the shape of it. I'm not going to worry too much about getting this to like blend perfectly or soften too much, because that'll come in when I get those different colors later on for the actual picture. I'm just like doing a little bit of a placeholder right now for those values. All right, I'm gonna call that done for the underpainting.